3 golden eagles for War Thunder. Link in the description.
So how do you expect me to fall asleep after the things you said to me, after the things you made me feel? The night goes on and on. The night goes on and on.
Hello you sexy beasts, welcome back to War Thunder. This is the Nashorn, German for Rhino. This newly added tier 3 tank destroyer sits at a battle rating of 5.3 and features the same 88mm Panzerabwehrkanone 43 as Jagdpanther, at a whole BR lower. This makes the Nashorn carry one of the best guns, if not the best gun at its battle rating and matchmaking spread, giving you the ability to penetrate almost everything at almost any range with relative ease. To compensate for the amazing gun, the platform itself suffers from some heavy drawbacks. First and foremost, this tank destroyer has almost no armor, with the plates protecting the fighting compartment being only 10mm thick, and the low glacis and driver's hatch having around 30mm of armor. Against APH ammunition, this can be a benefit, as the armor is just too thin to even activate their fuse, making them pass straight through without exploding. But 100mm and up howitzers with their HE ammunition will absolutely feast on you. On top of that, the Nashorn is also very tall, making it rather hard to conceal. And from the experience I've had so far, as soon as an enemy spots you, they will start shooting you, as you make for an easy kill. The tank weighs a total of 23.5 tons and has 300 horsepower in my current fully upgraded configuration. This gives it a nice 12.8 horsepower per power to weight ratio. However, this doesn't translate well into overall mobility. Whilst a hull traverse and 40 km/h top speed are decent enough, you'll struggle to get anywhere fast, as the acceleration is surprisingly bad for a vehicle with so little armor. Overall, if the enemy spots you, it is too late, as you don't really have the power to dodge incoming fire. Given the drawbacks, the gun must perform absolutely amazing. And thankfully, it does. The 88mm Pak 43 has a reload time of 11 seconds with the stock crew, which can be further decreased to a mere 8.5 seconds. This gives the Nashorn the ability to deal with multiple targets quickly, so long as they aren't aware of your presence. The gun traverse is pretty good, meaning that you won't have to turn around the whole tank every time you want to point your gun at something. The vertical guidance is rather bad, with the 5° gun depression being a long shot away from the 15 degrees that the Dicker Max gets. It is actually Soviet levels bad, having a very comparable gun depression to the KV-1. In short, you won't have much success cresting hills in this thing. The vertical guidance speed is rather bad as well, with only 2.8 degrees per second on an untrained crew. However, since this tank isn't meant for brawling and should ideally be stationary before you encounter the first enemy, this isn't really an issue. The gun features a selection of 4 ammo choices. From the get-go, you get access to the APCBC shell, with an amazing muzzle velocity of 1000 meters per second, 235mm of penetration at close ranges, and a bit over 100 grams of explosive filler. You also get access to the HE shell with 13mm of penetration and a very respectable 820 meters per second muzzle velocity, which is very useful against the AA trucks you tend to encounter a lot at this tier. Through upgrades you can also unlock access to the, frankly, completely useless heat shell, and finally the APCR shell, which is really not needed, as your standard shell has no problems punching holes through anything you encounter. Overall, there aren't really any upgrades you need for this tank, other than of course the obligatory parts and extinguishers. If you do feel like investing, I would strongly suggest you get the camouflages as soon as you can. Your success in this vehicle depends entirely on your ability to not be seen. And that is where the problems of this tank lie. It is the definition of a glass cannon, being able to quickly dispatch of an entire enemy team at considerable ranges, but being completely unable to take any hits in return. Couple that with the mediocre mobility and the towering tallness of the hull, and suddenly it becomes rather hard to play the Nashorn. Right away, this tank gets affected by the map you're put in more than any other, as you are just completely unable to fight in close quarters city maps. And even wide open maps are no good unless they feature some concealment tall enough to at least disguise your outline. Most bushes just won't do it. Personally, I found great success hiding in the woods on the outskirts of maps, setting up ambush positions and supporting my team. The gameplay you're watching right now is an example of this, where I set up an ambush position in the woods, overwatching the cap zone, giving my team supporting fire and dispatching of any tank that would try to flank around. Sadly, that is really the only situation in which you can get good results. In the games I've played in the Nashorn, even if I did get a map that would allow me to stay in concealment at long ranges, I've mostly either had my team get stomped on, with me being next, or my team stomping on the enemy, not leaving me with anything to shoot at. It is very hard to get consistently good games in the Nashorn, as it is such a situational tank. At the same time, it can be worth absolute gold in the hands of a driver with proper map knowledge, as a hidden, supporting long 88mm cannon at that tier can completely halt the enemy advance. The last thing that I want to touch on with this tank is the absence of a machine gun. This is more important than you think, as I've often found myself with a jammed gun in front of an enemy at close quarters in the flanks, but being unable to spot him for my team to save me. In summary, the tank I can best compare the Nashorn to is the Soviet Su-100Y. Both vehicles rely heavily on their gun, have the same battle rating and comparable penetration values. But the Nashorn trades in the Su-100Y's pure one-shot potential for a much faster reload, higher muzzle velocity and a bit better mobility. Hopefully with the new visual modifications update this tank story will be a little bit more viable, since we'll be able to camouflage our tanks with bushes and the swords, but for now this thing is just too much of a one-trick pony for me to consider it effective. But those have just been my experiences. What do you think of the Nashorn? On the top right corner you can vote for the next tank to be reviewed, and on the bottom you can find a handy like button, which you can use in case you did in fact like this video. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. My name has been MikeGoesBoom. Thanks for watching.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find a slightly better